Hello, everyone. I am here with the beautiful Marlene Lindmair today, coming all the way from Austria. Hello, Marlene. And Marlene is a psychology counselor and systematic coach, which is very exciting. I'm not even sure what half those things mean, but welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Very welcome. Thank you for being here. So let's start off with what a psychology counselor is and a systematic coach, and how can the regular normal population go about implementing this into their daily lives?
All right. Okay. So, psychological counseling is I'm working with individuals and also companies, but mostly with individuals on their daily problems, on their obstacles they have. And I look at those problems in a systemic way, which is a very holistic way of seeing it. And I'm looking like where are some patterns within the family system, since we are all systemic. Well, we are all in systems and we are all relationship oriented human beings. And yeah, that's what I do. So I help. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I love how you intertwine the holistic aspect of that as well. I think that's really important because, like, when you think of psychology, you think of like Western medicine and just going to see a psychologist or a doctor. But I love that you bring in the holistic aspect of it, because most of my audience is holistic and we all believe in the crazy woo stuff. So tell me a little bit more about bringing holistics into the normal Western world, Western medicine, and Western doctors as well.
Wow, that's really a great question. So I think it's so important to see a human being not just like in its parts, but in the whole being. And I think so many problems are traced back to causes within the family system or within the environment we live. So it's not just about the physical aspects or the psychological aspects, but the whole environment that we're living in. And I mean, there are a lot of studies about it as well. It's not something people make up or anything, but that's science too. And I think, well, in my opinion, it's the only way to really get to the cause of problems and to really get rid of problems, because you don't just treat one aspect, but the whole package, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so important. And I mean, our bodies are designed to heal themselves. Like, that's what a body was designed to do. So it's very important that we bring in all those holistic aspects and start thinking mind, body, and brain connection. It's all important for us. And we don't need to numb ourselves with what these Western doctors are telling us, even though I definitely believe there's a time and place for Western medicine. But if you allow your body to heal in its own way, how it's meant to heal, it's so much stronger for you, and your connection from the healing can be so much better as well. You also have a platform that's starting up soon that is specifically for women. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the platform that's for, I'd say, personal growth. Like I'll be talking about specific topics each month, which can help you develop and which can help you grow in any aspect, I'd say, which is just there to inspire you, to give you a different perspective, and to really give you room to grow with others. Yeah, it's not a list of things you have to do, but it's just I will provide you with some information that will make you think, that will make you feel what this information does with you, and then might make you grow. Yeah.
Can you give us an example of something, like something that would make us think? Because I'm a huge believer in things that like screw with my mind a little bit, so it makes me think, versus like giving me the full story or the full example. Like, I love using my brain, and that's what we're all supposed to be doing with it. Can you give us an example of how we could also use our brain and grow at the same time with any of these techniques that you'll be using inside of your platform?
Like, I will talk about what makes me think and what makes me grow. And that's like reading a book. It's like, I love Jorge Bucay. I don't know if you are familiar with him. He's an I think he's from Argentina, a psychotherapist, a writer, and in his books he just like when I read them, he makes me think so much, and he makes me think about myself. And he doesn't say you have to do this and this and that, or this and this is wrong with you. No, he just makes you think, and that's what I want to do. I will provide some information, some things that I feel in my heart, or I feel and I want to share with the world, or in this case with the group, and that make you think about yourself. You feel, what does this information do with me? Does it push some buttons? Do I think about, like, do I get some memory about my childhood or about something else? I just really want this to be a very smooth process where you don't feel the pressure you have to grow or you have to be better or anything, because that might be very destructive. So I think it's really great to have the time and to just do it in your own, like in your own pace. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important because we all learn very differently. So if we give ourselves the time to allocate the time that is necessary for our own growth and our own journey versus like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm keeping up with everyone else and like they're growing like before me. And then you're in the like imposter syndrome and you're trying to like get ahead of everyone else. But like your own journey is your own journey. Like you should never compare yourself to anyone else. So if you keep this beautiful sacred space for people to grow at their own speed, I think that's super important and super beautiful. Let's chat a little bit about how you got started in this work. I'm very curious, like how'd you go about learning it? Did you go for school for it? How did you fall into the holistic aspect as well? Because that's what I'm really interested about.
All right. So, well, the holistic aspect, that's something that's an area that my mother opened up for me, because we have, like, since I was a child, we always went to some holistic doctors. So I kind of was born into it, you know what I mean? I got in touch with it so early that for me, there were no restrictions, and there was never a tunnel where I had to walk through, but there were always lots of possibilities and lots of ways to see or to look at any disease or any problems I had. And I always wanted to study psychology, which didn't work out at first. So I studied primary school teaching, and in this whole school system, like this usual school system, I didn't fit in at all, because I felt like the holistic aspect was missing there as well. And there is not only one way to learn things, but there are a million ways, and which then gets kind of punished if you think like that as a child as well. So I just did that for 2 years, and I felt that this wasn't the way for me, and then I got into psychology finally. And yeah, I did first of all, I started doing some spiritual coaching, which was really nice, but I also was missing the more down-to-earth aspect. So I wanted to have the whole package, and I wanted to have this whole concept. And yeah, that's how I developed, and that's how I grew into it.
Very nice. And what about systematic coaching? What is that all about?
Systematic coaching is all about systems. It's mostly like the first system we grow into is the family system. That's what we get in touch to, and that's how our subconscious is built, with all the things we learn in this first system we grow up in. And also, which is I don't actually have to grow up in my biological family system, but I will feel what has been happening there. So that's a very interesting part. And then the systemic coaching, I do it mostly in companies. So I look at the company as a system, you know, and that's where I don't just see the boss and not just the employee and his area where he has to work, but I see the whole company and what the whole company can do, so that each individual can like work his full potential. And in the case of family system, it would be what's important, so that each individual can live his highest potential. Yeah.
Very interesting. I love that you start off with the family, because like family aspects are such a big play on how we grow up as adults and how we think as adults. So it's really important for us to sometimes take a step back and like look at our families. Like, what did I learn from the family? Did I learn that money should be hard to come by. Like that is a limiting belief that came from my family. However, that doesn't mean that that's how I need to think as an adult. So having these systems in place is really crucial for us in order to expand our consciousness and like fully decide on, yeah, this is exactly how I think, or this can expand. What other systems do you have? You said you mentioned the family one at first, and is this something that every individual can use, and how can they use that versus, I know you mentioned like you mostly did it for companies, but how can each individual use it for their own growth and their own way of working?
Yeah, since you mentioned the money block, I might be getting into an example of that because as I said in the beginning, I'm working a lot with individuals as well. So I'm doing some family constellations, and I always have a look at the family system and at the like his childhood, how he grew up. And one example is just I had this client who had been self-employed for about 8 years, and he didn't have success. He didn't have any income, and so we started digging deeper, and we started to look at his family system, and we found out that, I found out, he knew already, but we found out that his father, he was an alcoholic, and he as a child always had to protect his mother from not getting beaten up. And so he had this mindset that he had to protect his mother. And the reason why he didn't get successful in his job was that inside he didn't want to leave his mother, so he would always have to stay with her if he had no money. And those are just such interesting things. For me, they are interesting. For him, it's very painful, and I have had painful things as well that have developed within me. But I think it's just so important not to try to change things only right now, because we can only do this in a conscious way, and we all know that subconscious does 95% of the work. And so that's what I mean by systemic work. I always see, where did my beliefs and everything, where did they start, and where are the roots? And yeah, that's that.
And how do you go about working on those? So for example, that client or any other client, like how do you go in there and reprogram that?
I mostly work with visualization. So we first of all, we find out where the root is, and then by visualizing, you reprogram the brain, like you make the brain believe that it happened in another way. And then he can look at his past, and he will see that his feelings or his emotions towards those events, they change. And when they change, then he can free himself from it. I also do some kinesiological work, which is then tapping, and yeah. But since now I'm working mostly online, I concentrate on visualizations. Yeah.
Very nice. I think visualization is so powerful. I also do tapping as well, EFT. So I think both of those combined is super powerful in order to reprogram the mind and be able to come into this beautiful space where we fully believe what we should believe, what we were always intended to believe, and abundance is our birthright.
Yeah.
And just this beautiful life that we're having, so stunning. Thank you so much, Marlene, for all of this. Do you have any last minute tips and tricks how people can start implementing all of this, or anything that, because this was a lot for a lot of people, many people are not familiar with the psychological aspects of it, how they can start implementing into their daily lives?
Well, what I love is mindfulness self-compassion, which means that I have my moments during the day where I just stop doing what I'm doing, and where I listen to myself, and where I'm with myself, and where I'm there for myself. So for example, I'm stressed and everything, then I stop and I'm like, okay, what do I feel? And then I'm, okay, I see you, I feel you. Okay, I feel that I'm very stressed, and that's fine. Like, just be nice to yourself and just love yourself. Like, yeah, that's my number one.
Very important. Yes. So how do you go about self-care? I'd love to know.
What I do usually is, in the morning and in the evening, I have my 10 minutes of silence where I just breathe into my heart and make my heart expand. And I think that's the most powerful tool I use. And yeah, then of course the whole like moving thing, like going for walks and those things. But what does the most for me is actually those 10 minutes of breathing into my heart. Yeah.
Oh, That's beautiful. Yeah, it's so important, especially in the middle or in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, to like open up your heart, especially so you can go out throughout the day with this full force. And then also when you're winding down at night, to be heart centered. That is so important, and so something that a lot of people don't actually do. I meditate in the morning, but I don't do the heart opening exercises, which I might start implementing that. That's very important and very beautiful. Okay, Marlene, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get more information from you?
Well, you can have a look at my webpage. It's like my website is in German, like the title, but I have an English traduction. So it's www.deinlebensweg.at. Maybe you might give that information.
Yes, it'll be linked below.
And like I have another webpage which is for companies if somehow you want to implement any of this in your company, if you have one, and that's my name, Marlene-Lindmair.com. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what about the women's platform that you're creating? Where can they find
the
information about that?
Platform that will be called as well as Dein Lebensweg, like as the same as my homepage. And yeah, if you have a look at my homepage, you will find some information there, and you can get in touch with me. If you have any questions, just send an email to me and we'll talk about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marlene. I think everyone's going to walk away with some really nice golden nuggets and realize that even if they are in the Western world of like normal traditional medicine, that they could start implementing these tactics on a daily basis in order for them to expand their consciousness, expand their minds, and become these beautiful beings in this body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit connection. Thank you so much, Marlene. It was so lovely chatting with you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Register for the free 5-day Rebel Entrepreneur Retreat, where you will learn the step-by-step roadmap to living your life full of abundance and purpose. For the badass spiritual entrepreneur that is ready to step into limitless abundance and consistently bring in 10, 20, 30K months. To register, go to rebelentrepreneurretreat.com.